Well, here we are the morning after the Derby, the Big Apple Smash at Franklin, PA. Great turnout. I think they had about mid-60s cars across 7. They kind of ran every class, so guys that had a car left over. We ran in the 4 cylinders, and there were 20 of us that went into the pit. It was a pretty big Derby for GSP. Usually don't have that many thrown in at once. Usually they do heats and or split the feature, but with so many features that night, I'm sure and the pit was big enough. You know, it was a nice sized pit there at Rocky Grove, just outside of Franklin they built. We ended up 4th and got a best paint. You see the basket on top. Believe it or not, it did hold. The kids did the kind of sponge design with the paint we had left, kind of trying to do a fall look. Dad did the hood, and Big Apple Smash on it, and Apple Fest that's taking place in Franklin this weekend. The wife did the basket, and we bolted it and zip tied it. Now there was actually about twice that many apples. They didn't all make it through the Derby, but it actually stayed on there for quite a while. The one guy I was talking to said it wasn't until the last kind of hit that the apples were ejected that I saw. Car ran great, and you'll notice it pretty much, if you watch the build video and final look, it is pretty much in the same condition. This wheel took a hit, just bent it in, not a big deal at all, bent that out. Back end was already pushed a little bit more in that corner, and I had a bigger run where I hit a guy, and it was more on that side, and a couple other hits, but folding up pretty nicely. The problem was, and I also ultimately went out 4th, and I still have a car that I'll see if I can get that bolt out and fix it here, and we'll run her again next year, put her in the shed. That control arm. Again, the control arm I have off of my other Cobalt, a really clean, almost like new passenger side control arm. I could not get that bolt to break loose. Hit it with spray, hit it with a heavy duty impact drill. Worked on it for 2 or 3 days the week before the Derby. Just could not get it to break. So unfortunately, didn't even take a hard wheel shot. You know, I knew the right wheel was weak. I knew I was going to have to try to keep it clean, or even just right behind the wheel. I took a hard shot the first time I ran in Jamestown. It was pressed into the battery box. But just kind of got pressed just lightly. I mean, so lightly. It's infuriating. But that's why those control arms, you know, if you are someone that's new to derbying and you get a car like this one, even though it's a 2005, you know, it's rusted underneath, like, you know, you drop the tank and the tank's inside. I mean, you don't got to worry about any of this back end. It's a dead car. Let it crinkle all the way up to here. You can see there the tire I did get. Shout out to Lucas. He gave me a solid stock tire there that fit this car. That one wouldn't hold air. But again, you know, it's sitting up here, the Derby tank and battery box, and the back of the car's dead. But if this control arm up front and or, you know, aluminum spindles you got to be careful with, but the control arm, it just pressed a little, and it actually, I don't know if you can see, it pulled the whole boot out. So I'm sure that broke, and then it was holding on for a while. But you know, those, if you get enough torque pulling those boots out, they'll just pull out, and that's what happened. And then I'm sitting there going through the gears and nothing's grabbing. So a little disappointing in that regard. I wanted this car to be done. I mean, not that I'm opposing, you know, say you were running at the end or you got stuck at the end or something and the car's still good, but to have a car completely perfectly fine, just the control arm, you know, I was trying to be a little bit careful. Wasn't going on too many runs early whenever it was crazy, kind of staying on my side, and I was fortunate. I was kind of on the more tame side. The other side had more cars and they just seemed to be flying into each other. But yeah, the loop lines again, talking to a guy there, Matt, a real nice guy. He was out of Pittsburgh area. And we were talking about the loop lines, and I said how, you know, just make sure you loop the lines with that pressure release there, but it works great. A little bit of fabric softener and water, not a problem at all. So a little disappointing, but 4th place overall. Can't complain. Best paint. Shout out to the kids that are walking behind me now. We got a best paint, boys. Mom's basket, I think, might have put us over the top. But got down to 4th out of 20, and the car's still fine. That control arm that we couldn't get broke loose that I tried for a couple days is ultimately what did us in. So that's her. On to the fall, if you will, winter season of just relaxing, enjoying stuff. And then next spring we'll be back at it, and this car will probably be there. So that is our 2005 Chevy Cobalt last run of the year. It was fun. Bunch of really shout out to the guys. I mean, all the guys that I know, talented drivers, super good at building derby cars. As even fourth with you know, a little bit of bad luck with that control arm. I was pretty fortunate with the amount of really good drivers that were there in this class. So 2023 season over. Overall, a good season. We got some hardware, had some good runs, even if we didn't get hardware, and learned some really valuable lessons. So next year, looking to do even better.